Hello and welcome to this video blog. And in this video, I want to talk about compression. So first we're going to look at what compression is, what it does, and we're also going to listen to how it works on this vocal. So first let's talk about what a compressor actually is. If you imagine yourself in your front room on the settee, you're watching a film and an advert pops up. More often than not, we grab the remote control and we turn the volume down because the volume of the adverts is usually louder than the volume of the film. And then the film comes back on after the adverts and then we turn the volume back up. And we just repeat that process up until the end of the film. And what we're doing there is we're acting as a human compressor. That's basically what a compressor is used to do. Because naturally when we speak and when we sing, there are parts of the signal that we produce that are quite loud and other parts that are a lot softer or a lot quieter. And what a compressor aims to achieve, or what you'd want to achieve with compression, is getting a more overall consistent level of signal. Okay, so let's load one up. You usually find it in the dynamics section because it is a tool that controls dynamics. And the way I like to look at plugins is I like to see them as tools that just ask a bunch of questions. So in the specific case of a compressor, the first question that a compressor will ask you is, how much of the signal would you like me to compress? And that's where this slider called the threshold is very, very useful. This tells the compressor how much of the signal is going to be compressed. So let's set it to minus 20 dB, for example. This means that anytime the signal is higher than minus 20 dB, it's going to be compressed. Okay, so everything above minus 20 dB is going to be compressed. That's the first question. Second question is, how much would you like me to compress that signal by? So first question is, how much of the signal would you like to be compressed? Second question is, how much do we compress that signal by? And that's where the ratio slider is very, very useful. If we set the ratio to 2:1, for example, that means every time the signal peaks 2 decibels above the threshold that we've set, that will be reduced to 1 decibel. If we set it to a ratio of 4:1, every time the signal peaks 4 decibels above the threshold that we've set, that will be reduced to 1 decibel. And that is consistently, that's the same throughout every value that you set. So what's the highest here? So 30:1. That means if the signal reaches 30 decibels above the threshold that we've set, that will be reduced to 1 decibel. I'm going to bring it back down to about here. Okay. So that's the first two questions. The third question a compressor would ask is, how soon after the signal has gone above the threshold that we've set would you like the compression to kick in? And that's where the attack knob comes into play. The lower in value that the attack is set, the more sudden the compression will happen after the signal has gone above the threshold level that we've set. The higher in value that we push this knob, the longer it will take for the compression to kick in. The question after that the compressor would ask you is, how soon after the level has dropped below the threshold would you like me to stop compressing? Okay. Or that could be asked, how long would you like me to hold the compression for? Okay, and that's where we use our release knob. The lower in value that the release knob is set, the quicker the compression will come to an end once the signal has dropped below the threshold. And the higher in value that we set our release, the longer it will take for the compression to stop after the signal has dropped below the threshold. Now, not every compressor has this function here, the knee function. Most do, but some don't. And this is one of the last questions that a compressor would ask you, and that is, how gradual or sudden do you want the transition to be from no compression to compression? In other words, would you like it to be abrupt, or would you like it to be more natural sounding? So the lower in value that we set our knee, the more sudden, the more abrupt the compression or the transition from no compression to compression will be. And the higher in value that we set our knee, the more natural, the more gradual the transition will be from no compression to compression. Okay, so as I said before, I've got a vocal here from a track that I produced a couple of months back. There's some issues here in the recording that hasn't been compressed that I want to address with this compressor so we can hear how a compressor works. Let's listen to this vocal by itself.
Shine your light, glorify.
I'm just gonna.
Hands lifted.
Okay, this is without compression.
Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you. Shine
Look out for these kind of sections here.
Hands lifted.
And listen to what it sounds
Let
like.
everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you.
The audio tends to jump quite unnaturally quite high. So another way to see what's happening if you're not able to hear what's going on is to look at these meters here.
Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you.
So let's start with this section here. I want to bring those peaks down a bit. I don't want them to peak out so abruptly. So we're going to set our compressor.
Let everything that has
to help us reduce those peaks.
Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you.
Okay.
Let everything that
I'm
has
keeping the
breath praise
value
you.
of the
Let
attack
everything that has breath
very low because I want the compression to kick in straight away because
let everything that has
these peaks
breath
peak quite suddenly.
praise you.
And I
Let
want to hold the
everything that
compression
has breath praise you.
for some time, and I want it to be natural
Let
sounding, so I'm
everything
going to
that
bring this
has
up a
breath
bit.
praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath.
Okay, that's not too bad to start with. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to A-B. I'm going to play it to you with the compression bypassed. And then I'm going to kick the compression in so you can hear what it's doing. This is without compression.
Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you.
With compression.
Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you.
Okay, I'm going to do that one more time. I really want you to listen to has breath. Those are the two that are the problem here that we're trying to deal with. So has breath without compression.
Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise.
And with.
Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise.
So the compressor's really just taming those spikes in audio there. And that's basically the general use of a compressor. That's generally how we use a compressor. Now let's listen to that in the context of the song.
Shine your light, glorify, hands lifted. Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you.
Without compression.
Shine your light, glorify, hands lifted. Let everything that has breath praise you. Let everything that has breath praise you.
Okay, that's not too bad. That's a good place to start. I would, if I was mixing, go into some EQ and some reverb and some other effects and stuff. But this is a good place to start in regards to compression. And this is just one of the many ways that we use a compressor. There's loads of different ways, which I'm going to be making videos about, that we can use a compressor. If you have any questions or queries about compressors and anything that I've spoken about, please do head over to facebook.com/write hit songs, or you can shoot us an email on the contact page of our website, which is www.thesongwritingschool.net. And until next time, take care.